In news from around the community, if you've driven by Bliss, you've likely driven by a story that has historians searching for answers. KMVT's Justin Matson explains.
Just a few minutes west of Bliss lies an interesting site. A barbed wire fence, 6 crosses, and a sign that reads Chinese Memorial Cemetery, 1883. But a lack of historical records leaves historians working on differentiating fact from fiction.
Two different stories that we've been told over the years. The first one is that as they were putting in the railroad, there was a mishap with some explosives.
The other story takes a much darker turn.
These Chinese railroad workers were murdered when they came to the foreman asking to get paid.
The other problem with these stories is the year it happened, 1883. The year after the signing of the Chinese Exclusion Act.
But it would make more sense after 1883 that we're not talking about Chinese railroad workers, but rather Eastern Europeans. This begs the question, should we unearth what's down there?
Figuring out who is under the lava rock is no easy task, and the first of a few hurdles would be state and federal law.
The only time that there's an exception to that is if the grave is imminently being endangered by road construction and it has to be moved.
There are tools that archaeologists can use, but they might not be applicable thanks to the basalt.
That would be almost impractical. For one thing, there's piles of rock on top of the graves. Ground penetrating radar is not going to penetrate those boulders on the surface.
The next hurdle would be what to do with the remains once excavated, as that would cross both legal and cultural lines.
Another thing about the being past the Exclusion Act is that a lot of these bodies would have been repatriated back to China.
The Chinese had a very interesting custom when they came to America, and that is if they died here in a foreign land, it was absolutely imperative that they get their bones shipped back to China, to their home village, so they could have the proper respects paid.
Something that could prove to be impossible thanks to the amount of time that has passed and the lack of records.
I doubt there's any records identifying the names of who these people were. How would you know which region of which country to send them to?
While the names of the workers have been lost, the graveyard itself tells an important story that otherwise would have been completely lost.
We're just now starting to kind of recover their story and appreciate the importance of their roles in building the state.
It makes us aware of the complexity and colorful nature of our pasture.
It tells us that Idaho wasn't a homogeneous group of people. It's lots of different people. It's lots of different people who are here trying to make a life.
For KMVT News, I'm Justin Matson.